So, are we online? We're good. Hello, the world. Welcome for our Sunday meditation. And hello, friends who are here. Let's begin. Let's begin with taking refuge and generating the enlightened mind attitude. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let's take a moment to make sure we're here, that our body, our breath, our mind are present, and also come to enjoy the freedom, the leisure that we have to be here now and to have a date with our mind. Whatever we've been doing before we came here, we let it fade away into the past. Whatever we might have to do in the future, we just simply leave it on hold for now. We don't speculate too much about it. In this space of leisure, freedom that we have, we can notice what is. And before we turn our gaze inwardly to look at our mind, we take a little time to make sure we're sitting properly. The way we sit has a direct impact on the movement of our mind, and therefore it's very important. So we notice the contact with the ground, whether we're on the chair or directly on the floor. We notice the stability we gain through this contact, and we may have a sense of gratitude for the earth, who is like a mother offering us this support. Our back is straight without unnecessary tension. Our hands may be resting palm down, flat on our thigh, or in a meditation gesture, the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. The shoulders are slightly outstretched. And if we sense any tension around the navel, we just relax it. And as we breathe in and out, we just relax totally our belly until we begin to sense that the center of gravity of this posture is somewhat slightly below the navel. And by placing your attention at this point for a while, you can relax the rest of your body and sense that you're in perfect balance and perfectly grounded. The lips are relaxed. The gaze is directed slightly downward, eyes half closed in a soft and open vision of what is in front of us. Now, if you find it more comfortable to keep your eyes closed, feel free to do so. Now we pay attention to our breath, and the movement of the breath becomes a good friend in a sense that it provides us with a reference point towards which we can come back when we feel that we are overwhelmed by the hyperactivity of our mind, or if we're drifting, following a train of thoughts, we can come back to the breath. Once we find this sense of balance, both in the mind and in the body, we can observe whatever arises in terms of sense perceptions or inner movement of feelings and thoughts and ideas about past or future, and see how much we fix them into some sort of solid reality when actually they're just like a rainbow. They have no solid, substantial reality. We are overpowered by them because we attribute to them a certain reality, and we feel that we need to react when actually they don't have such a reality. For most of the meditation, we just notice all the thoughts as they arise, all the sense perceptions. And we see them as fireworks, rainbow, optical illusion. So we don't have to fight them, or we don't have to be attracted and overpowered by this imagined world, so that our mind remains clear and free and peaceful, and more aware of the illusionary nature of everything that arises and disappears in our field of experience. Feel free to move or stretch a bit if you need. Before we are fully able to really implement the instructions on mind training and practice Lojong mind training in Tibetan and standing and taking meditation, there is some sort of prerequisite work that needs to be done. And that is to liberate one's mind by examination and analyze. So examination and analyze means that somewhat it's like if you had two minds, as Shamar Rinpoche said, it's like you have two minds. There's a mind who observes and a mind who is observed. And this is both your mind, right? So there's a part of you that is going to look at the mind and the part of the mind that's going to be looked at. And so what are we talking really more precisely here? We're talking about our tendencies and habits and sort of compulsive reactions in any given situations that are pretty much always the same. And then we sort of like react always in the same way. And even if the situations are slightly different, we have the same reaction. And most of the time we don't see that because our gaze is always turned outwardly. And then we're always looking at the people. We have a very good capacity for examination and analyze, but unfortunately, it's not directed toward our own mind. It's directed towards outside because that's how we are hardwired as animals, I guess. We need to survive. We need to protect ourselves. We need to catch a prey if it's possible, and so on and so forth. So these are really very primal habits that we have since really beginningless time. And also part of probably what we genetically inherited, you know, like the memory of our ancestors, you know, down to the lizards and before that, you know. So it's really a hard battle because it's so deeply ingrained that we don't even see it. And so that's where the freedom is coming into play, the freedom to decide to change things. And so this sort of like two-mind situation that Shamar Rinpoche describes implies that we look at the mind with kindness. We are not here to judge. We are here to examine and analyze. And there is no moral value. There is no judgment placed into this examination and analyze, because the bottom line is not that one part of your mind is victorious and being the nice one, and the other one, who is supposed to be the bad one, is going to be crushed and destroyed, because this is called schizophrenia, right? And we don't want to make a bunch of crazies. You know, there are enough. With the process of meditation, we don't want to make more crazy. So basically, there is interest, there is curiosity, there is kindness. Basically, there's part of our mind says like, how do you take us? How do we always fall into the same trap and have to suffer from the same consequences? And it seems that we never learn and we never change. So we really have to do this, because we come to understand that most of our reactions come from our interpretation of a given situation. It is not really based on objective reality. It's really, in Buddhist terminology, we call it the imagined nature of the manifestation. It's just our fantasy that we deal with. Whatever it seems we receive from the outer world through our senses is mostly what the mind comes to know about it. You know, your eyes don't care, your nose don't care, your skin don't care. Your mind does. The consciousness cares. The consciousness knows and feels and appreciates and discriminates and sort of like get all, riled up and then all upset and all whatnot about something which is just its own makeup. So it's really interesting to spend time to turn your gaze inwardly and then look at how you get so, seduced or scared or upset by your own appreciation that are subjective reading of a situation that we assume is here, an object, we assume it exists when it's actually only imaging manifestation. And Shaman Rinpoche says all phenomena are just the deluded projection of a confused consciousness. So that's the sort of like the working basis. All phenomena are deluded, we could almost said apparitions or illusions that are projected by a confused consciousness. So at this point, when you begin the work of analyze and examination, you don't have to start from the point of view of, I am convinced that what Shaman Rinpoche said is right. It is a working hypothesis, and you will confirm it through your own examination. You don't have to buy the package right from the beginning and say like, this is what reality is, because this is another projection of your confused mind. Okay, so what needs to be done is like, let's work with that. Let's work with, it is a possibility that everything I perceive through what I call my senses as outer object is just a projection of my confused consciousness. Like the dream, for example. Pretty darn real when you're in it, but when you step out of it, you realize this is just your mind playing tricks. And so you do that, and then it's like, what is this thing I'm all, against, or I'm all for? You begin to really observe if it's a possibility that all of this is just confused projection that create deluded appearances. Maybe I'm totally delusional. Maybe it is what I think it is not what is. It is what I think. I don't see the world as it is, but as I am. And so that sort of like change totally your viewpoint on the world from an objective, I am here, this is there, action, result, all of that, what we've been doing so far. And it didn't really work. Yeah, okay, we're successful sometime, but in the end, we all die. So it didn't work. We win a few, we lose a lot. Didn't work. So if I continue to do the same, hoping for a different result, this is the definition of madness, right? So let's try something else. Just like cast away all the certainties and all the holding on view about reality and just say like, hey, I'm going to really look at this world like this. All these deluded appearances are just a projection of my confused mind. And if you can see that, suddenly the ground for passion and attachment and jealousy and hatred and rejection and discrimination just like vanishes. Your mind that was dependent on this imaginary world, that mind that was overpowered by this imaginary world, finds some sort of freedom suddenly from this imaginary world. And again, this is your imaginary world. Nobody is playing tricks on you. You don't need anybody else. You're just good at it. And so just by observing this, we can find some sort of solace in the constant burning of our mental afflictions. Just by this, you know, because we get less overpowered, less overwhelmed. We have a little bit of distance. We can see it. And then we can look at this part of me, this part of my mind that is overpowered by its imagination. We can look at this part of the mind and begin to gain freedom so that you're not anymore overpowered by your own imagination and what seems to be a real world out there. Okay, you're not overpowered by this anymore. Now and then, not always, but for a little moment, you're not. And then you can see how you are always reacting like a scared, cornered rat, you know, like you bite. Or, you know, as we are feeble animals, we had to use our neocortex and then we develop that so that we can think, strategize and all of that. And actually, we're just like a madman who is fighting against his own hallucinations. You know, that's when you look from outside, that's very sad. But when you're in it, it's very painful. So if you can see that you are overpowered by your excessive imagination, which is just expression of a confused mind that doesn't really see reality. And you can see the power that your imagination has over you. You can already, I would say, cut by half all of your tensions and struggles and fear and expectations and so on. And then with this like set of like half energy that you have liberated, you can look at your compulsive reaction, quasi-Pavlovian, you know, ring a bell, you know, I'm looking for something. And you can decide that you're going to change. That's where you decide to change your behavior to such stimulation. Instead of reacting with hatred, I will react with understanding and love. To such stimulation, which is my imaginary world, I will, instead of reacting with compulsively with grasping and jealousy and so on and so forth, I will cultivate, you know, generosity and sharing and including and all of that. Okay, so once you have gained somewhat a little bit of freedom, that you are not so constantly overpowered by your confused imagination, then you can practice Lojong. Because you have really the space in which you can say, wow, that's how I create my misery. I'm going to work on it. I own it. I'm going to work on it. Wow, that's how everybody creates their suffering. And then if I can help, I'm going to do it. You know, you don't practice Lojong from a ground which is overpowered by your imagination. Oh, I'm a savior. Oh, I want to help everybody and so on, because that feels good for me. You know, like this confused mind hijack this practice to serve its own interests. You need to find a ground of sanity prior to practicing really mind training, and in particular, the exercise of sending and taking. This is really vital. So that was the advice of the day. Okay, free yourself as much as you can, progressively, every day a little bit more, through examination and analyze. See how you let your imagination run wild. You assume that your subjective reality is an objective reality, and then you're overpowered by your own confused creation. And therefore, you can't think straight. You can't act straight. And you definitely cannot cultivate a genuine bodhicitta and a genuine practice of sending and taking. So that's really the ground. And, you know, altogether feels much better. Less agitation in the heart, in the mind, in the brain. So it's good for your blood pressure. Okay. to conclude, let's dedicate the merit to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Through this merit, may I attain true omniscience, then having overcome all harmful, destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent wave of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now rise. Once arisen, may it never decline. May it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much. Thank you, friends over the internet. If you want to be informed, just subscribe and click like and all the things you know, and thumb up and all of that, so that our Natural Bridge Bodhi Path YouTube channel becomes worldly famous. Have a good day and see you next week. Bye.